Hi everyone. So today we're going to revisit a number of things that are really the basics of the spiritual awakening journey. And whether you are just starting off on your journey and thinking something's changing in me, I think I might be going through spiritual awakening, or you don't even know and you just happened upon this video, or you have been going through the awakening journey for quite some time, this is still for you. All of this is for you, because what I have found in my own individual journey and in others who I work with is we have a tendency to forget about foundational kinds of things as we go through the journey that we've set up to do, that were important to us in the beginning, that start to fall off. Or that as we start the journey, we don't have any clue about, we just have to stumble along and find out what is important, what isn't. And what I'm hoping today that this does is for everyone, kind of brings it back together as far as probably the most important thing that we can do in our awakening journey, and that's creating our foundation. And I'm going to talk about 3 bodies that we need to consider as we go through this journey, and that we need to very much shore up, is what I will say, or create a foundation of, that we carry through the rest of this journey, because it's critical. Because what will happen is if we don't do these things in the way that is right for you, if we don't focus on these bodies, what will eventually happen is you'll start to notice that things will start slipping off, or that you just happen upon this down the road and you're like, wow, why didn't I know this or do this early on? So I'm hoping this will help all of you today, regardless of where you're at in your journey. So I'm Carolyn, I'm a channel, I'm a distance energy healer, and I'm a spiritual awakening mentor. And I offer these messages for your awakening and ascension journey. Sometimes they're channeled messages from the light keepers, who usually always pop in. I also do energy updates, and sometimes I just come in and really try to give you some foundational kinds of advice, experiences that I've had for your awakening journey. So I hope you'll enjoy this today, regardless of where you are in your journey. And like I tell everybody, take what resonates and toss the rest aside. That's what these videos are for. They're for you to say, oh yeah, that resonates, I like this, or that doesn't make any sense to me, I'm just not going to focus on that. We are creating, or we are putting together the puzzle of our own journey. And that means collecting pieces from different places, as disparate as they may be, but you will be guided to them, which is why you're watching this video in the first place, particularly for those of you who are brand new and wondered, how the heck did I find her? So anyway, I hope you enjoy this today. So what I want to talk about today are the 3, what I call bodies, that I've actually been told are the 3 bodies to consider. Now, you may have different names for them if you're even aware that they do exist, all 3 of those, but just know I'm going to use the term body here, and then we'll talk about each of them. So first and foremost, the spiritual awakening journey is an inner journey. All right, it's about bringing ourselves back into ourselves versus this external focus that we've had for so long. Now, this isn't about being selfish or self-centered or in the ways that we talk about that, egoically speaking. This is about bringing our energy back to us for what serves us and what doesn't serve us, as far as what we've been giving to the external world. And then what we do is, as we bring that focus back into ourselves, we start to understand who we truly are, and we travel the awakening journey through the perspective and the lens of our divine self. So that's the whole journey in and of itself. So remember, as you go through this journey, the things I'm going to talk about today will help you stabilize yourself so that you can continue this journey, versus having the things that we deal with our uncovering and our learning and the depth of growth within ourselves be so difficult, because it is difficult, and it's beautiful at the same time. But we have to go through the uncovering, right? The uncovering, the really deep digging, the deep awareness of ourselves. But the foundational part is what will help you continue through that journey and to be able to sustain that. Okay, so we're going to talk about 3 things today. Again, we hear about these things, but we don't understand the depth and underlying meaning of these three bodies until we wake up. And so the first thing I'm going to talk about today, before we get to the three, is I think it's important to be able to assess where your energy is coming from and where it's going to. So everything is energy. We are energy. We have energy we give. We have energy we take in. We don't see it all the time, but we sure can feel it. And we become more and more sensitive in this awakening journey. So one of the first things I would ask you to do before you really do kind of an assessment of your three bodies, and then you could just flow right into this, is to do the exercise that I gave back in a video. I think it was August 10th of 2022. I'll actually include that in the link below, where you are drawing a chart to show where your energy is going to and also where it's coming from. You can do those two separate exercises, but that video will tell you more. That way you're going to be able to see a visual of like, oh, wow, okay, this is where so much of me goes and it feels unbalanced. Remember, we're coming back into balance with everything, and that's critical, okay? It's really critical that you do this with your own journey. Where are you imbalanced? And in balance, right? So this is an exercise that you can do before you actually go and assess yourself in these other three areas. But be honest, include your habits, include everything. And again, that video will walk you through that. So then when you're done with that, I think the important thing, one of the important things to come out of with that is really becoming aware of the things that you've turned a blind eye to. Because in a lot of these exercises that I talk about, and then in the spiritual awakening journey, what can happen is we can go only so far with it. We can go, oh yeah, I did that work. Yeah, I did that work. No, you probably didn't do it as much as you need to during the awakening journey, because this journey is all about getting to root cause and deep digging and really understanding it, and not just cursorily understanding it or on the surface understanding it, because I really believe most of us understand what's going on with ourselves to one degree or another, but we kind of do this, right? We kind of turn the other way and we're like, yeah, I know. And then it'll poke in on us. Well, during the awakening journey, one of the biggest things is our mind, body, and soul kind of start talking to us and saying, no, we're not going to let you do that anymore. You're not going to get to hide from this anymore. We've got to deal with this, because what the point is we're coming into the fullness of ourselves. We're rising in frequency and vibration. We're leaving this heavy, energetic 3D dimension and all the stuff that's held us down for all this time. And that's the work we're doing, but it requires the deep digging. So be honest with yourself in this process. This will help you understand what you're turning a blind eye to with respect to yourself. So one other thing to keep in mind before we talk about these three bodies is, over the course of time, you're going to fall off on some of these, because a lot of these are new habits, or new habits in the way where you don't just do them and you're not mindful about them. You will do these with mindfulness involved. But we also fall off of them, and I'll give you some examples where I've fallen off as I start talking about these. So again, it's about rechecking back in, rechecking back in, rechecking back in, and giving yourself grace. This is a process we're all going through, and it is a never-ending process of rechecking, reconnecting, and then reframing things as we move forward. Because you will eventually reach a level where it's going to start to feel kind of smooth and good. But guess what? That's also a place where you can trip up and go, oh, I already kind of did all that, and I feel really good. I kind of know my methods. I know how I clear. And then you can start getting lazy and dropping some of this off. And then guess what? It starts to affect you. So just know that regardless of where you're at, I would always say cross-check yourself on all three of these bodies is what I will call it. So as we talk about these three bodies of awareness, just understand that the examples that I'm going to give, they all cross over to each other as well, to some degree. One degree, I should say, or another. And be focused on where can you bring your energy back to yourself, or change up the energy, or set new energy. Set it up so that you actually have energy coming in. And we'll talk more about where that could happen or not happen in your day-to-day. So the first one is the emotional or mental body. Now, again, you may call these things something different, but this is how they've asked me to talk about them. So the emotional mental body, really the mind, the emotion, the things that our mind can do to us to send us into emotional overdrive, one way or another. So basically, what is causing stress, worry, anxiety. These things, fear, anxiety, worry, concern, this is actually a part of you trying to speak out. These things happen because we are trying to make ourselves more aware of something. So, for example, anxiety. Where's that anxiety coming from? All right, look at it, figure it out, understand it. Don't just ignore it. And this is not a criticism of taking medication, but what I will say to you is one of the issues we have in our current medical world, in particularly Western society, is we don't dig deep into the causes, the root causes of these things. And what we do is we just band-aid things and we give somebody a pill. So what this journey is very much asking us to do is to do the deep digging, to understand what's the root cause and work on the root cause. The root cause can be anything from past lives, inner child, you name it. It goes on and on and on. And that's not what we're talking about today. But what we're talking about today is how you can start looking at this and setting up ways to assist yourself in these bodies. So the emotional, mental body, what is causing stress, worry, anxiety? It's a part of you trying to speak out. What is all of this saying to you? And in fact, you can use this for all three of these bodies. What is that part of you trying to say? What is that part of you trying to say? Lots of times when we have acting out in one way or another, emotionally, physically, whatever it is, it's a part of us trying to say something like, hey, listen to me. I'm trying to teach you something more. We need to dive deeper, okay? So some of the emotional, mental, body areas that we can take a look at are relationships. Because as we know, they can cause a lot of stress, worry, anxiety, familial relationships, friend relationships, work relationships, really kind of digging into and understanding. And you can do the hub and spoke model that's in the other video that shows where your energy is going just for your relationship. So that video, you can take and do each one of these and use that exercise. Okay, you can pull it apart and do subgroups. And I would highly recommend this. I think you will gain so much if you really take advantage of doing this. Doesn't mean you have to do it all today. You can do it over time. So relationships, really taking a look at where that energy is balanced or it is imbalanced and with whom, right? And where is that anxiety, stress, worry coming from? What do you need to change up in that? What is it telling you? What is all that anxiety, stress telling you for your emotional and mental body? Worry and anxiety, as I mentioned, getting to the root of it, getting to the root of the thing. What is it you're worried about? Again, you can take this hub-spoke model that I talked about in the other video, and you can outline what are all your worries, what are all your anxieties, and then what you very likely are going to find is there's certain areas that are causing you more worry, more anxiety. But you don't stop there. That's where the real work begins, is understanding that component and where it comes from, and then starting to heal that. Okay? When you do that deep digging, that's key to this journey. That's part of this healing. It's a huge part of it. So you can do that with just yourself if you're able. And know that you can do this all on your own. Or you could get a friend. You could get on Zoom with somebody that you're close to online that's going through awakening. You could do this as a partnership. You could put charts up and do Zoom video. I also offer this, helping you one-on-one in the mentoring that I do. So again, there are all ways to get to the bottom of this. But what I would say to you is do the deep digging. Collectively, the emotional and mental body is so affected by the collective. That's the collective energy we're in right now. That's the news. It's social media. It's work. It can be very unconscious. This is the one that can suck us in and keep us held down. And we also can go through what others will present to us as the guilt game. I've had this brought to me a number of times where just naturally I've just gravitated away from the news. It is a natural part of this journey if we allow it, remember. But what you'll find is lots of times people will say, what do you mean you don't know about the news? I mean, they'll guilt you into not understanding what people are going through. You can't explain it to them, okay? You cannot explain it to them. But do not let that guilt or that I guess I will say, do not let that person guilt you into moving back into that. You've got to feel and know what is right for you. But we have this thing where we do this to each other. It's like, what do you mean you don't understand? How do you not know what's going on? Don't you want to get involved and be an activist or whatever it is, right? So you have to be very aware of how unconscious the collective energy can be to our emotional and mental body. And then what that does is that affects us, and it affects our actions, and it most assuredly will affect our awakening journey. So another way to assess the emotional and mental body is, what boundaries are you setting up? What kind of voice do you have? In the past, have you just let people run across your energetic boundaries? Or did you even have any at all? And this is where we really start to understand how important it is to be able to voice ourselves, to make decisions about space and time for ourselves. We start to become more energetically sensitive. Many of us wake up to being very empathic, and it feels very different. We have to take care of what I'll talk about here in a bit, our energy body. That's another body. But the point being is setting boundaries, having that voice, knowing what is right for us, what isn't, rather than, again, as I go back to, always giving our energy away. So again, taking care of the emotional and mental body is critical. This is one of the bodies, but it also has to do with, are you setting boundaries? Do you have a voice? Or do you just let people run right over you? So that's to one degree or another, we all get involved in that, but it's doing that great assessment of where you're at with all of this. It's going to help you so much moving forward. And again, you're going to come back and forth in these. You'll maybe be down the road like, wow, I really need to visit just boundaries in general. So again, you can just take that as a subset and just do boundaries. You could just do that exercise that I mentioned earlier in that other video, the hub spoke model, where you're showing where your energies goes. How are your boundaries doing, right? It's a fantastic exercise, so I highly recommend it. Space and time for self. We've got to create space and time for our mental and emotional body. We need that space. We need that time. We need that quiet time. And you'll find as you're moving through this journey that very likely you're going to want more space. You're going to want more time for yourself. How are you going to build that in to assist your emotional and mental body? Okay, so those are some ideas on what I call the first body, the emotional, mental body. And then we have the physical body. We can sit here and say, oh yeah, I know that. I know the physical body because we talk about exercising all the time in society that's obsessed with looking good. That's not what we're talking about here. We are talking about moving the body, but it's moving it from a very different perspective, a very divine, sacred perspective, because this body that so many of us have dissed and not liked and been unloving to is the only way we're having this journey. It is the only way. So what we're here to do with the physical body is turn that around. Again, the deep dive into the body, having the conversation with the body. The body is a consciousness of its own. We don't look at it like this. Like I've told you before in others of my video, I have a long journey with the physical body, particularly with respect to competitive sports and being an athlete. And still to this day, to a degree, looking at my body is kind of like a racehorse, like, yeah, let's keep doing this. Come on, let's keep going. I used to do that all the time. And I think a lot of competitive athletes can do that until they turn around and realize that the body is actually obviously a part of them, but it's the only way they're able to do the thing they're able to do, but they have to treat it respectfully. All right. And so there's a whole journey of being able to come back in and actually have conscious conversations with your body, and you will hear your body. Our body speaks to us all the time through physical illness, through breaking down, through twitches, little strange things that happen, particularly in the awakening journey. We clear through our body. Our tears are here for us to clear. It goes on and on and on. The depth of the physical body and what it's here to do to help us through our awakening journey and the shift and change that it's going through in this awakening journey. And it is shifting and changing in frequency and vibration. And so there's a whole cellular shift and change that's going on in us. So with respect to the physical body, what we need to do is really take a look at our habits and our addictions. To one degree or another, we all have something that probably doesn't suit us or that we can shore up. And the other part of this is some of us have taken those habits throughout our entire life, and we just consider it to be part of who we are. However, during the awakening journey, again, this is it'll show up if it's not suiting you. It'll show up if it's not suiting you. And we can't turn a blind eye. You can, but I will tell you right now, it'll come back in a different way until we recognize it. And again, I keep saying, not just saying, oh yeah, you're here. Okay, right, I know I need to do that sometime, and maybe down the road. Kind of like we do in our 3D world, right? No, this is about going, okay, I've had this message over and over again. My body's been telling me X, Y, and Z. I know this, and now I need to do the deep dive. And that's the critical part. And then shifting and changing into something different. Now, lots of times what happens with the physical body in this awakening journey is this all happens kind of, I shouldn't say all, parts of this start to happen naturally, but we have to come along for the conscious awareness of this, all right? So things like moving from eating a lot of meat to eating no meat or being vegetarian, that's a big one in this journey. It may not happen for all of us. It'll happen to those of us that, at least right now, it feels right for, but you will be guided in that direction. Other habits, drinking, smoking, drugs, all of that will come to the forefront as well, guaranteed. For me, it's been a long journey with, as I've mentioned in past videos, with alcohol on the weekends, right? So that was just part of my life. My entire life was having drinks on Friday and Saturday night, right? Well, I can't drink anymore. I mean, I literally, and you can't really explain this to anybody that doesn't understand. The first thing they think is, oh, well, you made a conscious choice to stop drinking because either you think you drink too much or whatever. And I'm like, no, that wasn't it. I enjoyed my drinks, but I also I knew deep down that it wasn't serving me. But it wasn't me going out and saying, I did say to the universe, I said, okay, I would really like assistance in not drinking anymore. And yes, I'm ready to do this, even though I enjoy it. I'm ready. Well, it took 3 years. I mean, before all of a sudden my vibration reached a point, and this is how it works, my vibration reaches a point where it doesn't even match anymore at all. It used to be like this, right, where the habit would still be there. I can't do it at all. I can't do it at all anymore. I don't even have any desire. So what will happen in the physical body is you'll start noticing things that all of a sudden you're shifting away, and you'll be like, wow, it's, for me, like, I don't know, let's say, as an example, oh, wow, it's been 4 months since I've had anything to drink, and I don't even remember the last time I desired it. So these things will shift and change. But again, you're coming to the party. You're coming to the awareness of this. It's engagement with the physical body, treating the physical body very differently than you have in the past. Sleep, critical, super important. Regular regimen. Again, we all fall off the wagon of our regimen, all right? So you want to give grace to yourself, but you're going to find you're going to need more sleep lots of times. Taking care of it when, taking naps when you need to, when you can, being able to set a time to go to bed, like drawing a line as to, no, we're not going to do this. I'm going to, we're going to go to bed, or however you want to do that. I know a lot of you have family, but there's ways around this to just shift and change things subtly for yourself, so that you can start adjusting to, honestly, what is the new you. And I will say, a lot of you that I've worked with already have families, have children, have husbands, partners, and they don't understand the journey at all. And yet you are shifting and changing. And that's a part of this process. But what I will say to you is you are metamorphosizing, and it cannot be stopped. But again, it's about you moving in that direction of the things that you need in this journey, and of course still being a part of the family. And that's a whole other conversation. But needless to say, for that physical body, getting the right amount of sleep that you need to support you in what is honestly an arduous energetic journey for all of us, for all parts of us. Self-talk, super important. So how do you talk to your body? How do you talk to your body? Just like I said earlier, most of us are taught that we should look different than what we look like. And therefore we turn inward and we talk badly about our bodies. We don't even understand that we do that. When we become consciously aware of our self-talk, it can be pretty striking. And what I will say to you is your body hears you. Your body hears you and reacts. So really taking a look at what are you doing to your physical body when it comes to self-talk. Again, all of these things I'm mentioning, we could do a whole deep dive on each of them. And again, I will say to you that in my work, I assist you in all of these areas, if in fact this is what you would choose to focus on if you decided to work with me. So your surroundings and your comfort in your day-to-day, that's not hedonistic. It's necessary, all right? We're in a time where we have the opportunity for most of us to be able to look at our surroundings and say, does this suit me? Does this suit me? In whatever way that means. It may be as simple as saying, wow, I've had these pillows for 20 years and they're awful, and I'm going to get myself some beautiful new pillows. And here's something else they talk to me a lot about. Surroundings and comfort. What's your bedroom look like? Go do an assessment. What's your bedroom look like? Is it a place that feels like a palace to you that you just love being in, where you give yourself comfort? Honestly, your bedroom is a very strong reflection of how you feel about yourself. What does your bed look like? What do you have the comforts that you want there? Do you enjoy your bedroom? I want you to really reframe what sleeping means, or what being in your bedroom means for yourself. And I'm talking about you individually. I'm not talking about with a partner or anything like that. I'm talking about you individually. Do you have a space you can be comfortable in, that you enjoy being in? Do you make your bed in the morning? I know they talked about that recently. It's important. It ends the evening, or it ends the night and starts your day. All of these things are energetically important. So look at your surroundings, look at your comfort, look at your home. Okay, again, this is physical body, but it ties to emotional and mental as well, right? And energetic. But look at your surroundings, look at your comfort. How are you taking care of the physical self for you, right? What are you doing that's caring for your physical body in your surroundings? Okay, we're going to go to the third one now. And honestly, this is the one we're never taught about in our modern world. And when I say never, yes, there are pockets of society that focus on this, but guess what? Mainstream, no. The energy and spiritual body. And I call it energy, spiritual body, but we can just, speak to the energy body, the spiritual bodies within that. It's the unseen part of us, right? But that affects all things. It's our auric field. It's our chakras. We're not taught this. It's all of what we truly are, right? Outside of the human body that we're in, so we can experience a human life. That's the only way we can do this, but we are energy in a human body. We have an auric field. We have chakras. We could go on and on about that. No one teaches this in mainstream society. It's one, honestly, like I've said before, I would love to do and focus on redoing the educational system, because I'm telling you right now, it's one of the first things we need to understand as young people growing up. What are our energy bodies and how do we take care of them? Because our energy bodies, as we go through the awakening journey, we become more sensitive. We become more empathic. We soak in other people's energies. Our energy bodies shift and change. We're affected more by the moons. We're affected by the sun. We are in general anyway, but we are more attuned to it and we feel it more. All right? That's the key. You're going to start to get very sensitive, and you want to be able to be very aware of this, that all that surrounds us cosmically affects our energy body as well. The solstices, the eclipses. So those are things that naturally happen that we best be prepared for, right? In some way, by taking care of ourselves. So when we think about our energy body and our spiritual body, well, I didn't have a clue when I was starting out, literally just in 2016. I didn't know what an energy body was. I didn't know I had an energy body. I'd heard of auric field, I heard of chakras, that's as far as I went. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, it's one of the most important things that I do now, and I know when I'm off. This is also why I have energy healings done every 2 weeks. Additionally, I do Epsom salt baths to clear my field. I sage my house. Again, you're going to find your way. Prayer, gratitude, mindfulness practices. Like I said, mindfulness practices of whether it's prayer, gratitude, meditation, journaling, whatever it is for you. Getting out in nature is so important. Again, these cross over into other areas, but that's important for our spiritual body, because we have nature out here who helps us transmute these energies. You'll feel so much better if you've been around a lot of other people in your day-to-day. Let's just say work, for example. You work with a lot of other people, whatever it might be. You get out and take a walk by yourself so that you're not having to have a lot of conversation. Again, starting to do things by yourself and being able to just be in your own space is important. Because what you're going to do is you're going to be able to transmute that energy out, and you're going to feel it, connect with nature, really letting nature transmute that and take that from you, because it does. we're just not as connected as we used to be at all. And so what we're doing is trying to rebuild that. So again, know that nature is a transmuter of energy that we start to take in, whether it be the collective, whether it be your family or your friends or the people you work with, because we start transmuting for others. And when you are feeling extremely empathic, those of you who know that you are, it can be tremendously difficult if you don't have a process for transmuting that and setting up energetic boundaries. So again, mindfulness, energy body, nature, grounding. Grounding is so important. Doing your own chakra work. There are many practices where, and this is one that works for me. I do this every morning because I have a morning practice where I just take the energy from my solar plexus on down, and I just envision it being pushed down, flowing down into the earth. You can argue center of the earth, whatever, create whatever you want. I just grow roots, and I just envelope the inner earth, and I just pull that beautiful energy in from the earth, and I just ground. I keep doing that. I keep grounding because I don't have a lot of problem being connected with my upper chakras. I tend to not be grounded on occasion. So that's been a work in progress. But again, grounding, chakra work, energy clearing, and because we are more sensitive. Additionally, for your energy body, look at the time you're giving to others. What kind of time are you giving that then gives, again, back to the exercise, where are you putting your energy? Are you just constantly giving to others and you're always running on empty? That's a great way to tell. Because remember, we are here at a time where we're coming back into balance. This whole journey is about coming back into balance. We have to first do this with ourselves in all the various disparate little areas of our journey, coming back into balance, okay? And then what ultimately happens is, as we do that, we're part of the collective, we start influencing the collective starts doing that, we start coming back into balance, which is why we are in such struggles these days with what you see in the outer world, because we're making that attempt to come back into balance. And as we come back into balance, what they have said is we're at this space where we then eventually come back to what they call 0 point, which is the great nothingness, which I know probably sounds a little trippy, particularly for those of you who are just starting this journey. But ultimately what we're doing is we are coming back into balance. Keep that in mind. All right. So that's why these exercises and looking at this is so critically important to our awakening journey, so that we can find our own balance. But first and foremost, these three bodies we have to take with us as we go, and we have to set up practices that work for us. And what you'll probably do is you'll experiment with a few things, right? Like I did with crystals. I love my crystals that I have, but I'm just not a crystal person, right? So, I used them for a while thinking that was great for my daily practice. It's just not my thing. I did find what works for me though. So you're going to go in and out of things that may work for you, and you may change down the road too. But again, the point is never forgetting your emotional, mental body, okay? Your physical body and your energy or spiritual body. Those three are what are critical for the foundation of this journey. As they have always given as the metaphor, we are like the rocket that NASA launches, right, into space. If it sat on a lousy platform that was cracked at the foundation, the rocket would go up and go off that way and into the ocean. The only way we can rise like the phoenix out of the ashes, like that rocket, is we create this platform, this foundation that doesn't have cracks and crevices. And when we fall off our game down the road, we have to be self-aware enough and care enough about the journey to come back and go, oh, whoa, I started that habit again. I didn't even really realize it. Because what this journey is about is becoming conscious. Okay, so you're going to fall off the consciousness wagon on occasion and go back. It's always like kind of a 2 steps forward, 1 back kind of thing, or sometimes 3 back and 1 forward. You just got to know that. So it's being aware, consciously looking at what our habits are, our relationship patterns, all the things that have caused us to hold fast to old, heavier energy, and that doesn't serve us anymore, and that feels icky moving forward. What do we do to create that new foundation moving forward? So I hope today this has been helpful to you. I know the energies in January have been really interesting. I have found, and just real quickly, I have found that what I've noticed is that December was this really, it was shoring up our foundation with a lot of really interesting things that showed up for people all of a sudden. But what I'm finding is that a lot of this is trickling into January. It's like kind of cleanup is what I was getting earlier. They're talking about how we're kind of cleaning up in January from kind of all that happened in the last part of the year. And we're cleaning up to carry forward in this new year of creative expansion. So what I'm finding, and I'm noticing this with other people, is that this is it's an accelerated energy, but what's interesting is it's in some ways, I know this might not make sense, like a gentler energy. It's definitely accelerated though in that sense. And I don't know about you guys, but boy, I cannot believe that January's like literally, what is it, the 24th today? I don't know. I think we're going to fly through this year. But again, this what we're dealing with right now is it's almost like a leveling up. We've come out of that last part of the year. They keep talking about cleanup, like we're cleaning things up, like some of the big stuff that happened. So interesting. The big things that happened in November, December, for many of us in our lives, we're cleaning up in January. It's like the bits and pieces. Because in February, and I'm going to be doing the energy update next week, what they're still talking about is we're doing all this now because there is this gateway coming. They just said to me we can see it already. Oh, they said we can see it on the horizon. Okay, I don't want to get into a whole channeling session here because, by the way, they'll just bring me information. It's not like I have to ask, so they would probably already start channeling. But my point in this is what they're saying is it's already on the horizon, which makes sense. We're looking at it toward the end of February. I don't know if typically what will happen is it's more of an energy that we feel. We notice things, and then that manifestation happens later down the road. But I was definitely getting late February, and then into spring. But we're seeing a whole shift and change in energy, which could manifest in situations that we actually see in 3D and we see in our human world. And I know too that I mentioned another video that I'm going to do on really understanding ascension, spiritual awakening, and abundance in our life. And I'm going to draw a map for you too. So that'll be coming out here in the next month. But anyway, thank you so much for joining me. Energy update will be coming out shortly, hopefully within the next week for February. And I hope you have taken something away from this video today and that you have enjoyed it. And remember, it's suited to anybody, regardless of where you are in your journey. Something here will help you reflect back on what you've already created or help you create your way forward. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you in the next video.